Broadcasting from occupied territories or the flea media, it's the Reality Dysfunction Podcast, a space where a diverse group of brown folk from across the nation explore the political experiences and social future of our Chicano Latino community. Control the narrative. Resist the dysfunction.
This is Dr. Ernesto Morales. I'm here with the Reality Dysfunction crew. We decided to go live today because we normally record, but we were just like, this is too much. This is a little bit too much. What's happening? So, like I said, my name is Ernesto Morales. We're gonna start up. We're gonna go with Carolina, who's right next to me. This is introduce yourself, you guys. Here with the reality.
Hello, my name is Carolina Sanchez. I am coming from Redlands, California. Predominantly white, right now middle of the road, but still white conservative. So
what's happening? So like I said, my name is Morales. We're gonna start up. We're gonna go with Carolina. Oh, you guys gotta mute your Facebook page.
My name is Carolina Sanchez. I'm coming from Redlands, California. Predominantly white. Right now.
Hello, this is Mil Mascares coming from Lansing, Michigan.
Still white conservative. So.
All right, Francisco. Like I said, my name is
Francisco Lopez coming to you from Inland Empire, California.
Cecilia. You gotta mute your Facebook page.
My name is Carolina Sanchez. I'm coming from.
Wait a minute.
I didn't realize I was on mute. Cecilia Olvera, born and raised in Saginaw, Michigan, but coming from East Point today.
All right. East Point's outside of Detroit. For those of you that don't know, now you know. Danny Sosa.
Dan Sosa, I am in Saginaw, Michigan currently.
All right. Alexandra Lozada.
Hey y'all, Alexandra Lozada coming to you from the East Coast.
Okay. JCV. You're muted. It's the danger of live broadcasting.
¿Qué pasa, people? Juan Carlos Vega here, Boricua, living in DC, but currently in Strasburg, Virginia.
Right. And then Carlos Hernandez.
Carlos Hernandez coming from San Antonio, Texas.
Y'all, what's going on in the
Just
Capitol?
been confirmed, one person shot at the Capitol.
One person shot at the
Oh
Capitol.
my gosh.
Tear gas, people getting shot. Where's the police? The Capitol Police is as big as any city. They were overrun. That's what the news are saying.
Yeah.
Were they overrun or did they let them in?
I don't know, man, but that's what I thought. I'm not going to say anything. You said it. But
Service are now there as well as the National Guard. They're all moving in now.
they requested 200 military people to come into the city, and the mayor Bowser put a lockdown at 6 p.m. All I know is that I saw on C-SPAN some of these protesters just beating down and breaking the glass windows at the Capitol, right? And I'm like, where's the police? Like, where's the people trying to stop this? And then when the Black Lives Matters were happening in downtown DC, and HMN stores and Old Navy stores were getting broken, then the police were there, and things were really happening. So I don't understand. I don't fool, and I worked at the Library of Congress, which is part of the U.S. Capitol complex, and it's pretty tight security. So I don't know. I have some, concerns on, such a big police in a small place being overrun, in these places that people can't get in. They broke into the Capitol.
Right. I don't see no smoke or any tear gas canisters going off in this feed that I'm seeing.
I don't see them lined up and just like beating up on people.
Exactly.
They let the tear gas off inside the Capitol. That's why they were passing out those. That's why they passed out.
But why are all these people up on the steps right now? And there's
they're not supposed to be there. That's only for Congress people, the press. Before 9/11, that was open to the public, but not anymore. You still have a few thousand people hanging out in there because they broke into the complex area and they just can't get him out. And the loser president doesn't say, can you please get out? Somehow he's feeling like it's kind of okay, even though I guess he's tweeting more crap before he leaves.
see what conservative commentators say, because I'm pretty sure it's only us liberal snowflakes who riot.
Yeah, well.
You know what they say? Fuck your feelings. Like, get home. Go home.
I mean, white people have a history of rioting, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, a history of it. I mean, there's like a 500-year history of white people rioting in this country. I mean, they don't like something, they riot. You know, Tulsa, Detroit. I mean, all these race riots, right? And that's what they always are. And ultimately, that's what this is too. It's a race riot. You know, this isn't about upholding the Constitution. This is about their fear, right, of being replaced as the dominant species in North America. That's what this is. And that's all this is.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I would like to say it's shocking, but it's really not. And it's not, because these fools have been saying for the past 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to storm this place, right? But everybody's all like, oh, they'll never do that because they're Americans, blah, blah. I don't know what the fuck that means. They're Americans.
They've been saying that no, because of the Constitution. Like that's going to stop this kind of thing from happening. I mean, clearly didn't. But yeah, you know what? That's a good point. How many weeks have they've been saying, you know, January 5th, something's going to happen, something big's going to happen.
And they've been, you know, threatening violence and, you know, breaking in and taking over for months, even
For
like
years.
right?
Yeah.
So
All the way
all
from
4 years.
From the
Where's the
top,
police lining
from
up?
their
Where's the
president.
police
Yeah.
lining up? I
And
want to
the-
know, where's the police lining
Well,
up?
I mean, but the other
Not
thing
with
is,
your police lining up. We heard you.
the
But
other
the-
thing is they know they know that they're going to be treated. They're bold because they know that they're going to be treated differently.
Yeah.
They know
Absolutely.
if they got you know the African American treatment or the Chicano treatment or the leftist treatment, they wouldn't be so bold. They know that they're going to be handled at least for a while with some kid gloves. I mean,
And
if
you
they
know-
had,
Yeah, of course.
Right.
And-
Any
and
Latino,
conservatives-
not just Chicanos, but let's be clear, any Latino, anybody who's
Yeah.
not non-white
anybody
skin,
that's
right?
brown
Not
or
white.
identifies as brown. Yeah, that's
Right.
right. Yeah,
Not
yeah.
white.
It's like
even
race
necessarily
was
be-
written into the Constitution, right? It's not like not like an implicit or that's not a, like, what is it called?
social
A non-implicit
construct.
thing. It's implicit that like race is written into the Constitution, and like our whole society, American society, but like modern society, right? Post-colonialism is based on the oppression of people of color for white capital. It's because we live in this like capitalistic police state that was created by, you know, us thinking that we have an actual democracy, which we don't, that like this is like the cause of that. So, you know, revolution, but not this revolution.
And Ernesto, didn't you say like a couple weeks back that like by any other country's standards, we are technically and have been living and existing in an ongoing race war? But because we live in Sparkletown, USA, we won't call it that.
I mean, who said that?
Someone said that. I cannot remember.
Because it's
who it
true.
was.
I agree with it. I don't know
Reiner.
who said it, but I agree with you.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I just saw a banner saying that the National Guard is now heading in.
Yeah,
Okay.
200. 200
Yeah, we're
of
just
them.
gonna join them.
An hour later.
You know,
And to Todd's earlier point, in Charlottesville with the tiki torches, right? Those white boys were yelling, "You will not replace us."
place us. That's
Right.
right.
They-
That's right.
This is not right. And what Charlottesville happened in 2017 or something like that. So I don't think
Yeah.
that it's anything new. I mean, they're afraid, right?
The first senator,
They
the
should be
first.
afraid.
The first senator for the state of Georgia at the U.S. level has just won the election for, you know, that's huge. Talking
The
about
first black
what,
senator. You
yeah.
just said the first senator. I was like,
Oh, I'm sorry, the first black senator.
First black
That's
senator
what I
and
meant.
And the first Jewish senator.
You know, well, but the other one hasn't. Is he confirmed already?
Bernie,
no, but it's getting there. I mean,
Yeah.
Bernie.
He gonna win. I mean,
Go
so
Atlanta.
you think about their fear, right? You think about the level of fear that these people have around this, okay? And then you think about the psychological damage that fear has wrought on our communities
Right.
over the last 500 years, man. And so then, you know, you look at all of that and you think to yourself, I mean, there's a reason why when it comes to being political, when it comes to like organizing in our community, that it, that we have this really intense reaction to it. And even for those of us who step out there and say, no, this is what we're going to do, there's 10 people behind us that are all like, oh, you shouldn't talk like that, dude. You shouldn't say those things, like, because, and you can just see it. But this is the thing, right? And I know that we've said this before on this podcast, but it comes right down to it. These guys are in control because they're willing to kill for it, right? And that's not, I'm not engaging in hyperbole in saying that. There are history books full of the evidence of their murderous intent, right? Which is exactly what's happening right now in the Capitol. There you go.
Okay.
I feel like this is white on white crime, right? And you see in the House chamber, you see all these white, elected officials hiding under the chairs, right? They put up like some sort of like cabinet in front of the doors with like Secret Service guys with guns, like ready to shoot anybody who comes through the door. And to the violence part, I mean, I can't believe that they actually stormed the Capitol. I'm incredulous. I am.
I can completely believe it. I mean, to the point you're making, stop and think about this. I mean, and nothing's changed really. They have committed every single crime against humanity in order to have this power. That's not hyperbole. That's not exaggeration. Every single crime against humanity that they have done it, and they're capable of it again. I mean, anything you can think of, they've done it. I mean, genocide, infanticide, killing children, moving whole populations from one end to the other. I mean, anything you can think of, they've done it. So it ain't gonna give that power up easily.
This just came off of Twitter.
Who's that guy there?
It's a MAGA dude, somebody that stormed the Capitol. I think it was a woman, yeah. Shot in the neck right beside me in the Capitol building. That shit is going down in there.
The Capitol building, let's think here for a second. The Capitol building and the Capitol complex is not just the legislators. It has a huge army of staff people that work really hard to keep not just the space, but the legislature running properly and the making of the laws in a way that's properly run. And that's not just white people running that space, it's black people too, and Latino people, because when you walk to the Capitol building and you're inside on the tourist area, and even before 9/11 where you can go underground, you can see that these are hardworking, American people to working for our country, right? And, they are the ones being attacked. It's not just the vice presidents, because both Pence and Harris were in the Capitol at the moment. And, Nancy Pelosi was in the Capitol as well. And all the leadership, many of the leadership in the country were in there with the exception of loser president, right? But it's a really dangerous situation that can escalate. And all of a sudden, how long have they been there inside the Capitol? For 2 hours, and the military is not there yet? Like, it's about
this. If we can go back to Ernesto's point of commitment, what's the objective? What's the objective of these individuals who truly went in there? What is it that they're planned to gain? Okay, they don't want to give up the power. What's the first step? Storming the Capitol, taking it. Second step.
It's to stop the counting, the officiating of the delegates. They just interrupted Biden fully getting elected. They totally did, because both houses stopped working because they were both.
College met today.
It stopped. They literally got what they wanted, which was to get Biden confirmed as president, because the Electoral College didn't get it was in the process of being counted. Of some Republican senators had already said that they oppose what Arizona, had provided as an Electoral College count, and all these kinds of things. So they're making history. Like how 9/11 was a big historical event. This is just as big, because even though there's no thousands of people being killed, they're stopping the elections from taking place, from being completed.
So is
And
this a security? Is this a security failure? Failure
of
of
course,
security.
of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
And what is so that
Yeah, 'cause,
opens
like,
up
the
a
last
much
time-
larger question, because that's what for me, what is it really going to happen tomorrow, or in a week from that? And we open up our picture.
Yeah.
Let's open it up to worldwide now.
Yeah.
How's this looking from the outside?
We've been
Yeah.
a
Oh,
for a
I
while.
don't really care about that.
Talk about
I don't
democracy.
care about
Or
that.
how
Welcome
are we
to
going
reality.
right? And talk about rights and laws and order. I mean,
Bro,
this is another huge chip on Biden's back now,
Yeah, well, it's like going back to like what Juan Carlos was saying, is that like the last time the U.S. Capitol was stormed, right, or at least like as I can recall, was the time for the Puerto Rican independence leaders. They came in, they stormed the Capitol, like 3 of them, and we're like, we want Puerto Rican independence, and they were almost immediately shot and killed, and it's going on for 2 hours, like. It's not just a failure of Capitol security, especially because they knew this was going to happen. It's a failure of them like treating white people differently than treating people of color. Like
Bottom
that's
line.
the huge difference, right? Because like they had riot gear and like looked like they were invading a Middle Eastern country during the Black Lives Matter protest, and that was peaceful. And they knew this was happening. They knew these people were violent, like seen from Facebook and like whatever like discourse that they were having. And then they were like, oh, we're just gonna have our usual pepper spray, our usual like little dipsy doodles. It's like, nah, like you gotta prepare the same way, because people of color are not violent in this country. It is white people, and it has always been white people, like, and they have a monopoly on violence. And like I think this is an example of that.
Maybe what they can do is they can give Trump a Bible and walk him over to the Capitol for a photo op, and that shit will be cleared out, like that within 10 minutes.
Good
and this
idea.
is the thing, though, those Black Lives Matter riots are basically exclusively police incited, versus they let these folks get to this point. They let them go on.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that is really important to keep in mind, right, is that like when I watch things like this unfold, I think that Francisco's question is a super important one, right? Because what happens tomorrow? And I'm gonna tell you, sure, they stop the election, but tomorrow or the next day after they clear out the Capitol, they'll go forward with the election. So it's about stopping the election, but even more than that, it is about it is a symbolic gesture to thousands of people across this country who believe exactly the same way that they do, that there is wiggle room for them to behave in this manner, right? Yeah. That there is room for them to challenge the government in this way. I mean, this is a clarion call to rebellion. That's what this is. I mean, and that is what it is. And 9/11, yeah. But if you ask me, this started in Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is it's not like those guys got away with that, right? Oh, but wait a minute, they did get away with it, right? Because they did blow up that building and they killed hundreds of people, right?
Yeah.
Sure, they got put in prison for it, but you know what they proved? They proved that you could do it. That's what they proved. You want to know why the police crush Black Lives Matter rallies? Because they don't want black people thinking that they can actually do it, right? That's why that brother, who was he in Texas, Carlos? The one that, he was firing up the cops and they had to blow him up with a remote.
Dallas?
Yeah, or I can't remember what his name was. I can't remember that guy's name.
I can't remember either, man. I can see his face right now, but yeah, it was like I think it was one of the first times that they actually, they used a robot.
That's right.
With explosives to send him in and blow him up.
He couldn't go to trial. That's right. He couldn't go to trial because that would have been sending the wrong message, right?
Yeah.
This is a message that's being sent by a group of people, predominantly white, because I see some black folks in there too. There's probably we know by now there's probably some Latinos in there too.
Hey,
right?
Proud Boy is a Latino guy running that shit. So
that's right. But they put interestingly enough, they put his ass in jail a couple
I
of days ago.
He
know.
was
Right?
banned from DC, right?
Yes, because if that fool was running around inside this crowd, then I think you would see the violence go up to another level, right?
Yeah. And like you were saying, Todd, it's like clarion cry, yes, but also I think it's like we're white. This is our ultimate level of privilege, right? And the news are saying that they're yelling at the people's house, and they're going in there and they're hunting down lawmakers and people within the Capitol, right?
That's right.
And I think
Right.
that's what it is. It's like we can do whatever we want, and the police ain't coming after us,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
we own the place, right?
I mean,
That's
where's Bernie?
There's a specific statute. It's statute 2384, and the statutory definition of sedition. It is a crime for two or more people within the jurisdiction of the United States to oppose by force the authority of the United States government to prevent, hinder, or delay by force the execution of any law of the United States.
There you go.
Sure looks like sedition to me.
Damn, got all legal.
I believe I like to think of things in terms of crossing lines and levels. So what's going on right now is obviously cross the line in a lot of people's minds. If a lawmaker gets hurt or injured or dead or killed, that's a whole nother level. That's when you can really say, oh, wait, shit's never going to go back. But, it's interesting what you guys were saying about what happens tomorrow, because this all occurred during the middle of a protest of the counting of the votes, right? So tomorrow, do those protests get withdrawn? Are those Republicans still going to protest the counting of the votes, or did they step back and let it happen now? I don't know.
Talk about something that would be super distasteful.
Not only distasteful, but
That was the portrait. That was the only thing I could think
no,
of.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but think about it. This is the first step. Nashville. Can't forget Nashville.
That's right.
There's definite connection between this and Nashville. That's why, we talk about what's going to happen tomorrow. What happened after 9/11? There was a lot of security.
That's right.
How's that security going to be handled here at home?
Yeah. I mean, look at how much the world changed after 9/11, right?
Yeah.
The Patriot Act, all of the surveillance laws that went into effect. I mean, for people who weren't already adults by the time that happened, I mean, it's just completely impossible for them to begin to understand, the way that people started to censor their thoughts and their speech after that, And we look at this now, but see, the thing is that they might pass a whole bunch of laws about this, but they ain't going to enforce them towards these white boys. They're just going to be passing more laws to use to stop brown people from organizing politically, right? From moving forward, culturally and socially. I mean, it's all going to be, all of this is a pretext, right? To clamp down on brown communities in the United States that are working towards liberation, that are working towards freedom, that are working to better their own communities.
The American flag has been removed from the Capitol and replaced with a Trump flag.
Oh Lord, this is a real joke.
And the
This
sedition
is a
comment,
joke.
I think we should impeach Trump for this, right? I don't think that he should go away in his last couple of weeks unscathed with this. This is purely his doing.
Or he should be removed under Article 25.
Thank you.
There you go. I mean, where's AOC, right? Where's Rashida Tlaib, right? Where are any of these people right now?
Well,
I
I don't think they're trying to say where they are, because they were in the Capitol building. Many of them, I don't know, I haven't heard her name, but they were in session. The legislature, I believe both chambers were in session right now.
Can somebody check her Twitter feed?
I'm checking it right now.
I was gonna say I followed a couple Republican legislators who were saying that they were just hiding in place and keeping it very, very vague.
And very private, because they don't want to give out extra information to the people that may be indoors. And they've been doing this for 2 hours. They've been hiding in place for the last 2 hours.
And instead of telling his supporters to back down or saying that he doesn't condone this, he just tweets remain peaceful. There's nothing
Yeah,
cool
that's the
about
problem. That's the problem. He needs to say you need to stand down. You cannot be firing. You cannot be destroying capital, building property, federal property. You can't be doing that. But he does say he's not. He's okay with this. This is what he wanted. This is exactly because Vice President Pence, I guess, was not gonna stop the election process like Trump apparently was pressuring him. So he's okay with this. I think loser pendejo Trump is totally okay with this.
So
AOC
Trump's
has
the
4
virus
hours.
and Biden's the vaccine. I think he's about to address the protesters.
Biden is now addressing, yeah.
What's he gonna say?
Biden is?
Biden, oh Lord, issues. Why? It's
Why
Trump
not?
who needs. It's Trump. Trump. These are his people.
But that doesn't mean that nobody else should be able to come
Well,
in.
it's totally true. I'm waiting for Trump. I'm waiting for
We
Trump
keep
to
on
say
waiting.
something.
He's not going to do it. And like, why do we think that he's going to do anything?
He won't. He won't.
He's not.
Issues.
What do you guys see on your screen?
I
see
see
the-
Biden is talking right now.
CBSN feed.
I don't see him talk.
I don't see him
Yeah,
talking
right.
either.
I'm on ABC and he's talking on ABC.
Come on, CBS, give it the program, man. I don't have
It's
ABC.
NBC.
I'm seeing the feed on Twitter too now.
I like purposely block most things related to Trump, so I'll just watch it through you guys.
Alex, can you share your screen? Try it now. See if you can share it so we can all watch it and listen to it. You disappeared.
Yeah,
You
no sound.
disappeared.
Yeah, now we just got the Google screen.
Yeah.
We got audio, but not the screen.
Well, turn it up. Turn it up, Alex.
Borders on sedition, and it must end now. I call on this mob to pull back and allow the work of democracy to go forward. You heard me say before in different contexts, the words of a president matter, no matter how good or bad that president is. At their best, the words of a president can inspire. At their worst, they can incite. And therefore, I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege, to storm the Capitol, to smash windows, to occupy offices, the floor of the United States Senate, rummaging through desks, on the Capitol, on the House of Representatives, threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest, it's insurrection.
It's terrorism. You should just say that.
Like so
It's
many
definitely insurrection.
genuinely shocked and saddened that our nation,
It's
so
sedition.
long the beacon of light and hope.
You know what the conspiracy theory is going to be tomorrow, right?
Trump is a domestic terrorist.
Restoration.
None of the people that did this were actually Trump supporters. They were actually liberals and anarchists who were playing on the left to make it seem as though Trump supporters were being violent.
Yeah.
I can promise you that's going to be said.
It can't be sedition or insurrection. It's being done by white people. Come on.
It's so funny. He's being so nice to what he's saying. Oh, and I like what he's saying, but he's being so nice, and it's like talking to the white people so nicely. It's like,
Please stop it. I don't like it. Please stop.
yeah, be nice. You know, we shouldn't stop doing that. And be like, you need to stop right now, or you're gonna be grounded or going to jail, whatever.
I already see this on some folks on Twitter disregarding this all as fake news, and I'm just like, but how?
That's
Initially was going to talk about
It's loud.
economy.
for tonight.
But all of you have been watching what I've been watching.
This must be like a replay.
At this hour, our democracy is under an unprecedented assault, unlike anything we've seen in modern times. An assault on the citadel of liberty, the Capitol itself. An assault on the people's representatives and the Capitol Hill police, sworn to protect them, and the public servants who work at the heart of our republic. An assault on the rule of law like few times we've ever seen it. An assault on the most sacred of American undertakings, the doing of the people's business. Let me be very clear. The scenes of chaos at the Capitol do not reflect a true America.
He is going to
Do
come
not
down on somebody
represent
like a
who
ton of
we
bricks
are.
after the
We're
20th.
True
seeing
American. And
a
who are
small
them?
group of extremists
Venezuelans?
dedicated
No,
to lawlessness.
They're
What's going to
true
be the
Americans.
reaction of that action? You know,
It's
it's going to be a
disorder.
reaction.
It's chaos. It borders on sedition,
Vicious cycle.
and it must end now. I call on this mob to pull back and allow the work of democracy to go forward. You've heard me say before in different contexts, the words of a president matter, no matter how good or bad that president is. At their best, the words of a president can inspire. At their worst, they can incite. And therefore, I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege, to storm the Capitol, to smash windows, to occupy offices, the floor of the United States Senate, rummaging through desks, on the Capitol, on the House of Representatives, threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest, it's insurrection. The world's watching. Like so many other Americans, I am genuinely shocked and saddened that our nation, so long the beacon of light and hope for democracy, has come to such a dark moment.
The world's been watching. You know,
Through war and strife, America's endured much. And we will endure here, and we will prevail again, and we'll prevail now. The
Look,
work-
Guatemala earlier this year, the people of Guatemala invaded their legislature too. So they are ahead of these people.
honor, respect, the rule of law, just plain, simple decency. The renewal of the politics. It's about solving problems, looking out for one another, not stoking the flames of hate and chaos. As I said, America is about honor, decency, respect, tolerance.
there are kids in the.
That's who we are.
Honor,
always
dignity,
been.
tolerance. It's why we murder,
Certification
genocide.
of the electoral college vote is supposed to be a sacred ritual, which we affirm. The purpose is to affirm the majesty of American democracy. But today's reminder, a painful one, that democracy is fragile, and to preserve it requires people of goodwill, leaders with the courage to stand up, who are devoted not to the pursuit of power,
or the personal interest pursuits of their own selfish interest at any cost, but of the common good. Think what our children watching television is thinking. Think what the rest of the world is looking at. For nearly 2.5 centuries, we, the people, in search of a more perfect union, have kept our eyes on that common good. America is so much better than what we've seen today.
I think
Watching
this
the
is
siege from the
America,
Capitol,
and it always
I was
has
reminded
been.
as I prepared other
It's,
speeches
you
in
know,
the
the
past, I was
delusion
reminded
that's
of
going
the
on in this country
words of
isn't just
Abraham
happening at the
Lincoln
Capitol right now.
in
It's
his
actually
annual
happening
message
in
to
the States
Congress,
too.
whose work
Yeah, I just got like
been interrupted by
Kansas
chaos.
State House was breached
Lincoln
and the
said,
Utah governor was just evacuated. It's like,
he said, we shall
it's
nobly
crazy.
save or merely
And look what
lose
happened in Pennsylvania,
the
right?
last
They
best
they
hope
wouldn't
on
seat the
earth.
newly elected, I think it
Went
was a
on to
senator.
say,
They wouldn't,
the way
and
is
they kicked out the
plain,
lieutenant governor because he was a
peaceful,
Democrat.
generous,
It's
just.
happening.
Or even
The
the
way
Michigan governor
which is
last year.
followed, the world
Yep,
will
early in
forever
the year just
applaud.
because of the stay-at-home order.
God must forever bless. The way is plain here too. That's who we are. It's the way of democracy, of respect, of decency, of honor, and commitment as patriots to this nation. Notwithstanding what I saw today and we're seeing today, I remain optimistic about the
He's just going
incredible
around in circles
opportunities.
now. He's kind of just spiraling over.
There's
and
never
over.
been anything we can't do.
I was gonna say, if this was Donald Trump, like talking
together.
about liberals and Black Lives Matter, like we would be
God
thugs and
always
criminals
today.
and
I was about to get my man a tissue. I thought he was gonna start crying.
Democrat, independent of the nation.
I don't know. Like I took a class last quarter on what is it? Like ideologies. And one of the things we had to read was this piece on
Never, ever been a thing.
ritual, like it was basically about like ritual and religion. And like what he said is like exactly that, is like, you know, the US government, like our form of democracy is all just a ritual that is actually not true, is actually like false. And that when we participate in it, then we give it more meaning and we give it more value. And this is just like the example of like, we don't actually have any like concrete,
I'm sorry
like,
I kept you waiting.
you know, laws and like strength of like, this is what a democracy is. It's just us all believing in a democracy and all of us believing that we have a democracy and that we are safe and that, you know, it's like,
Yeah, no, it's time to act, right? It's time to put up or shut up. You know, chickens come home to roost, all the above. It's just that the moment of truth, right? It's the moment of truth.
So I mean, we're kind of coming to the end of the time that we normally allot for this, and I'll be real honest with you, I have a 3:00 appointment. Not that I won't be like glued to this, but my question to you all is this, because I think that we need to bring it back to what it is that we do here at the Reality Dysfunction. What does this mean for the Chicano Latino community, right? I mean, what does this mean for us, Carlos Hernandez?
Oh man, I mean, I'm trying to process it all. No, I'm trying to process it all, but I mean, just some quick thoughts is, I mean, there's a lot going on here, man. I mean, there's a lot going on multiple levels. I think, I mean, just the thing that jumps out, I don't think it's necessarily the biggest takeaway, but I think the world is watching, and I think even probably the rest of the United States is looking at the huge double standard in treatment. I think that's just one quick thing that you can take away that's obvious. You just look at the double standard. I think even people who maybe think of themselves as conservative, maybe they're alienated from the whole Trump thing, but they still consider themselves conservatives, can still look at this and be like, yeah, if that were a different group of people, they would be getting the hell beat out of them right now. They'd be taking bodies outside and you know, they're just big different treatment. But on the other end, I mean, man, if you're a Republican politician, you got to look at it and think, you got to be scared for lots of reasons, because if they'll storm the Capitol, they'll continue to vote, and they're going to vote and vote and vote. So they still have to play. I mean, that base just flexed a lot of muscle. When people are willing to storm a Capitol building, they're pretty much willing to do almost anything. And that's the people you got to keep happy. I mean, if you're coming from that political party. So they're in a, I mean, that, you know, I could go on and on. There's a whole lot of things, but that's just quick things
Yeah.
I'm thinking about right now.
Anyone else? What does this mean for us?
We'll be blamed for this. You know, Mexicans get blamed for all the problems in the country. So at some point they'll find a way to blame us for this. But you know, you were talking earlier about the commitment of some of these people. I mean, you can't be more committed than to be willing to be shot in the neck for what you believe in. So, you know, a lot of people took a lot of flack after 9/11 for saying that the terrorists were in a way warriors because they were willing to die for what they believed in. And I don't know if I would use the word warrior when you talk about killing.
But they were committed.
But they were committed. Yeah,
They were committed.
And it's funny that we're talking about the word commitment, at least it is to me, because when we came on today, I was prepared to talk about the Georgia election. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and then all this happened. And one of the things I was going to talk about was how Kelly Loeffler is a WNBA owner, right? And players in the WNBA, they wore Vote Warnock shirts, you know, in protest of her running for office, even though she technically owns the team. Those players on the team still wore those shirts. So they're pretty committed to be messing with their money. But then I'm kind of thinking right now, I guess, how minor that is, even though it's probably big to them, compared to what some of the people who are there right now are risking. You know, it's just perspective was changed in a short amount of time, I guess would be the best way.
Yeah.
Although the thing is, Dan, you know, speaking of the NBA, WNBA, there's a big disparity in the amount of compensation those two groups get, you know, based on their gender or sex, or I'm not sure, but you know what I mean? That whereas with the NBA with, you know, $54 million contracts versus, you know, a big contract probably in the WNBA being 1 or 2 million. And that's a big contract. Whereas the average player there gets, you know, $60,000-$70,000 or something like that.
It's still more than what I'm making.
Yeah, but you know, they probably also have degrees and probably can make similar money, just not playing basketball. Whereas, you know, I'm just bringing up the disparity in pay, you know, between those two groups of players doing the same game.
I mean, I think one of the things that we really have to think about in our community is we have to, you know, there's all kinds of organizing that's happening in the Chicano and the Latino community, right? I mean, there's, you know, people are doing all kinds of organizing, okay? But we're organizing for everybody else. We're not really organizing for ourselves, because even the organizations, right, like Mi Familia Vota, you know, or, you know, big organizations like that do good work registering people. They're registering people to vote for Democrats, man. You know, and in the end, those Democrats, I mean, Joe Biden, whatever. I hope that he's safe the same way that I would hope any other human being is safe or whatever. But this dude is not going to give for student loans, right? He's not for single payer healthcare. I mean, he totally does not support defunding the police, which means moving money into social services to, you know, create a preventative atmosphere. I mean, you know, I think actually if he were in the White House right now and, you know, these guys were doing this, they would have opened fire, you know, an hour ago, man. I mean, I don't think he would have been playing around. I think he would have shot these fools down in the street, you know? Mm-hmm. So the point though being is this, right? Is that we have to start thinking about like what this means to organize. I mean, and you look at these people who are doing this, they're organizing, right? They're moving a political agenda forward, okay? It doesn't matter if you like the agenda or not, you know, recognize the process that they're engaged in, right? And then think about how it is that we duplicate the process, not the agenda, right? But the process of politicization within our own community, because that's really where we're failing, y'all. I mean, it just is, you know?
And I think though that we have to recognize, right, the Latinos that we have elected, and we need to support them whether they're Democrats or not, right? Carlos Aleman, who was on our show, right? People like AOC, I think we need to continue to support them verbally and be loud about it. And additionally, and I think we need to be really like, words matter, right? These are not protesters. These are rioters. Like, these are terrorists. Donald Trump is a domestic terrorist who's creating more havoc for everybody. And it's really dangerous, right? And it's dangerous for all of us, right? And it's important to know that, I mean, as we watch the news feeds, how other people are also making it very publicly known that this is not how things were handled back in June or during all the other Black Lives Matter movement.
That's right.
Protests and marches, right? Just like Charlottesville, nothing happened in Charlottesville, right? And this is like,
Heather Hare died.
My question now is, where's this leave the youth? You know, I mean, the youth is already struggling in
That's what I was
the
gonna
pandemic, right? The youth are still struggling with their education. And now the youth are struggling with the future of their nation. And the foundation of a lot of what has been told to them about democracy, you know, this whole summer struggles question, you know, what they have been told about justice. So for me, you know, when we talk about what do our community has to do, in the end, I think that's our greatest asset, is our youth. And we have to be aware of how this situation impacts them, and, you know, the messages that they're going to come out of this with, because in the end, they're the ones who are going to be here, you know, tomorrow. It's their tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And it's always, you know, even apart from us, been hard for you know, being a young organizer. You're stuck in between, you know, playing by the rules and getting nothing done, and demanding change now and being radical and liberal and a snowflake, and also getting nothing done.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing coming from someone who has been to a lot of therapy is like giving young people reassurance that, like, or just giving them a goal of being like, you know, you don't have to like support like, you know, X, Y, and Z, but like there are different options other than like the US democracy system. Like the US isn't the only democracy, right? We can have different kinds of democracies. We can have different forms of government. We can have different forms of economic systems. You know, and like, I think, you know, as someone who has a lot of anxiety and is just like so worried about the future and like, what is it going to mean come, you know, a couple of years, it's like, I want some sort of guidance. And I think we have a general idea of what we would like us, you know, 9 of us, but, you know, in a general, like, organizing like Latinx community spaces, it's like we have a general idea of what we want, and putting that forward and putting that out there as a like, this can be the way, even if it's not like, you know, labeled the same ways that we label it. You know, you have to code switch and do all these kind of things, but like, you know, that was what, like, that would be what I would want, right? Because like in high school, I wish someone would have told me like, you know, all this sort of like Chicanx history, all this Latinx history with the US, like all these other things, or even just the fact that like, you know, we don't have to have a 2-party system. We can have a multiple party system, you know, and that's just a basic thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, I think that's the big thing. And, you know, as like a teacher, I think that's one of the things that you can do too, is just being like, reassure your students that like it's not going to be fine, but it can be better, you know?
Yeah, you're right. It's not going to be fine, but it could be better. It could be a lot better, right? Okay, y'all, that's all the time that we have for right now. This is our first live broadcast of the Reality Dysfunction. Let's bring everybody back on so that they can see y'all's beautiful faces. And we'll be here. Well, I don't know if we're going to be live. Maybe if something like this happens, but hey, who knows? I mean, this could become a thing, right? Like white boys rioting at the Capitol. Weirder things. So, all right. But in the meantime, you guys stay good. We'll see you all later. And we're out.
This is the Reality Dysfunction.